So I'll be quick with our recap of the 10th chapter, titled as The Opulences of the Lord. I gave you a little introduction right in the beginning, so I'll not do that. It has around 42 verses, and this chapter can be divided into three parts or three sections, where S stands for source of everything. And in discussion, we talked about the word Bhagavan Uvacha. Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the scriptures, is the one who wrote Mahabharata, the historical narration. And that Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, and that Bhishma Parva, we come across Bhagavad Gita. Very interestingly, it's worth noting and thinking about. When Arjuna speaks, is Arjuna Vacha. When Sanjay speaks, Sanjay Vacha. When Dhritarashtra speaks, then Dhritarashtra Vacha. Vyasadeva didn't even call him Raja Vacha. थोड़ा तो सम्मान दे सकते थे. Didn't give that much respect to him. But when it came to Krishna, he didn't say Krishna Vacha. We can take a look at Bhagavad Gita from the beginning. Vyasadeva always said Bhagavan, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Although we have been looking at this Shri Bhagavan Uvacha from the second chapter when Krishna began to speak, I waited until this point, this part of presentation, where when Krishna says, I am the source of everything, therein we took the opportunity to elaborate and speak about how actually Krishna is source of everything. And in our last presentation, we were making a point. There are many Ishvara, there are many Devatas, but there's only one Bhagavan. To that, Srila Prabhupada translates into English as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, we all come from the scientific background, logic and whatnot. We need evidences. And to present that, in the previous chapter, we talked about different devatas and Krishna. And 10th chapter, we began to discuss about different religions. Who do they call as Bhagavan? And we kind of did a quick look at, let's say, Christianity. Jesus wrote Bible. He never said, I am the God, I am the Son of Father. Prophet Muhammad, I am the messenger. Guru Nanak Ji, again, a prophet or a messenger or a saint. Then we also saw Mahavir Jain, etc., etc. We saw many examples. All these religions which are based on the writings or the words of these great personalities, none of them said they are God. In Sanatana Dharma, Bhagavad Gita is the most important book. And there, the speaker clearly says, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is proven in this chapter. That was the first part of discussion. And then second part of discussion was, all right, how do we understand if Krishna is that one Supreme Lord? Then I quoted a definition given by the father of Vyasadeva. What was the name of Vyasadeva's father? Parashar Muni, who wrote Vishnu Puran. And Vishnu Puran, he gives the definition of word Bhagavan. Bhagavan, Van means who possesses. Bhag means Bhagya. Bhagavan, one who possesses all the opulences. So what are the opulences? Then Parashar Muni describes 6 opulences. Aishwarasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasha, Shriya, Jnanam, Vairagya. These are the 6 opulences described by Parashar Muni. The one who have these opulences to the fullest can be called as Bhagavan. So in our last presentation, we saw each of these opulence in relationship to Krishna and how he possesses in the full quantity. Not only that, we also discussed about various incidents, like when Krishna was a small child, he opened his mouth and showed the whole universal form to Mother Yashoda. In fact, he did that twice. Next time, he showed the whole universe within his own mouth, including his own Mother Yashoda, with seeing which Mother Yashoda fainted. Then, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, on the request of Arjuna, which is the subject matter of today's discussion, same Krishna showed his universal form, all-pervasive form, while standing on the chariot on which Arjuna was standing. And that's how Krishna proved inside and outside. It is all-pervasive. Krishna is present. And that's how we came to a logical conclusion Yes, all scientific evidences points Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is further substantiated by Arjuna's verdict. When Krishna declared, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matha sarvam pravartate iti matva buddha bhava iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvataha. One who knows the fact, Aham, I, sarvasya, all, prabhava, everything is manifested from me. Mataha sarvam pravartate, I am the cause of everything. One who knows this fact about me, bhajate, he renders devotional service unto me. Like that, when Krishna established the fact about him, and then Arjuna gives his verdict. And what did Arjuna said? In 10th chapter, verses 12 to verses 15, primarily verses 12 and 13. Arjuna, for the first time in Bhagavad Gita, he declares Krishna to be Supreme Personality of Godhead. I should have included the verses, but in case if you have a book with you, 10.12, Krishna Arjuna said, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram. Param Brahma, you are the Supreme Brahman. Param Dhama, you are the Supreme Ode. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Idam. Pavitra, Paramam Bhavan. You are the Supreme Purest. Like that, I'm sorry for that little confusion here. So like that, Arjuna declares. Not only that, he says in the 13th verse, my dear Lord, it is not I who is declaring you as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada, Asita, Vyasa, Devala, all the great sages in the past have declared you to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, what else evidence is needed? By this time, Arjuna says, Krishna, I accept you. You are indeed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like that discussion happens. And then Arjuna further speaks what he says in the 14th verse. These are some very important verses. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the Devtas nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. So when Arjuna said, Krishna, I accept you, a very important lesson to be learned here. Arjuna said, Krishna, I believe in you. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means I believe and I'm willing to follow your teachings. Many of us would say, I'm God believer. I have faith. What is the evidence of your faith? Every morning मैं धुआं बढ़ाता हूँ संसार का, वो काली कलर की अगरबत्ती जलाकर. कुछ लोग इतने सालों से अगरबत्ती जला रहे होते हैं, उनका घर गुफा में बदल जाता है, अंधकार में, क्योंकि सारी छत सारी दीवारें काली हो जाती हैं. देखा होगा किन लोगों का डिवोशन बहुत अधिक होता है. They are so much into that, they don't realize the white color has become a black color, particularly the roof of the house. That's not the evidence of faith. That's ritual. What's an evidence of faith? Arjuna expresses, I accept as truth all that you have told me. Which means, in whatever Krishna have instructed in Bhagavad Gita, now becomes a responsibility of a follower or a believer to abide by in one's life. Is that making sense? Therefore, he is not saying, Krishna, I choose what I like and I don't choose what I don't like. No, I accept entirety about it. Next verse, Arjuna said, indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. And like expressing Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, now Arjuna makes a request in the 16th verse. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. Maya tatam idam parvam. This is in the 9th chapter, verse number 4, sorry. He says, Krishna says, I am all pervasive. I am everywhere. I am visible and I'm within this world, I'm without this world also. So Arjuna said, my dear Lord, you have declared that you are all prevalent. How do I perceive you? How do I see you? As I said, there are two subject matters of 10th chapter. Krishna is the source of everything, and we can perceive Krishna within everything. Krishna is the source of everything has been established. Now Arjuna is asking, how can I perceive you in everything? So therefore, in that context, Arjuna asked, my dear Lord, can you please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you are all pervasive? By which you are everywhere. And to give you a simple example, I quoted before also, such a fantastic example which makes the subject matter easy. Srila Prabhupada walking on a San Francisco beach, a disciple pointed to a beautiful sunrise and said, Swamiji, look what a beautiful sunrise. And Prabhupada immediately paused and said, if the painting is so beautiful, how beautiful must be the painter? The point here is that sunrise, that beauty is an opulence. Beauty is one of the opulence. So whose opulence is that? Krishna. So how does Krishna manifest himself? Through different opulences. So Prabhupada immediately said, yes, if the painting is so beautiful, how beautiful must be the painter. That is how we can see. Just like Srila Prabhupada can see in anything and everywhere Krishna, similarly, we can see when we understand this opulence. So from when Krishna begins to answer, let's say, how shall I constantly think of you and how shall I know you? This is the subject matter. And then Lord Shri Krishna began to speak about his opulences. So when he begins to speak about his opulences, he gives various analogies. Analogies are the way, what is an analogy? Analogy helps us to understand or comprehend a difficult subject matter by resolving the complex subject matter into our level of comprehension. That is called as analogy. Lord Shri Krishna begins to give the analogies here, explaining his opulences. And he said, among the rivers, I am the Ganges. Among the mountains, I am the Mount Meru or the great Himalayas. Among the beasts, I am the tiger. Among the best of the bowmen, I am Arjuna. How can Krishna be Arjuna if Arjuna is standing outside of Krishna? Is Krishna the Ganges? Is Krishna the Mount Meru? I am the taste of water. Like this, there are a series of verses Krishna goes on speaking, which means all the abilities are God-given. Let me make this point and see if you understand or not. How many of you agree all of us are born with certain talents? You may be humble enough not to recognize any talent within you, that's okay. But, but in case, have you seen people with some talent and you have seen from childhood they were talented in certain things? Yes or no? They have done nothing for that. Maybe they have just acquired some training to sharpen that skill set. But they were. Just like, in our culture, music plays a very pivotal role. We have musical instruments, katal, mridanga, harmonium, and whatnot. I have seen individuals spending weeks, months, years, dum, 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 dum. सिर्फ हंगामे के अलावा कुछ होता ही नहीं है. And they spend months and years together. On the other hand, we have seen individuals, they would sit amongst the audience and they'll just pay attention to how Madanga beats are being playing. And one day they'll pick Madanga, dung, 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 dung. And they start playing a fantastic beat. So in our language, we call that, one has got music karma, other has not got it. So point is, he had that talent and he could pick it up very quickly. So my question here is, who is responsible for this innate talent? For where does this skill or talents or the quality comes? These are called as God-given gifts. So like that, when Krishna is giving examples of different opulences here, Krishna is explaining this is nothing but a minute reflection of my vibhutis. Vibhuti means opulences. And that's the subject matter here. I have not included that analogies. It will take a long time. I would request all of you to please read from 18th verse onwards up to the 40th verse. It's a very fun reading. You'll like it like that. So like this, Lord Shri Krishna speaks about this opulences just to help us understand and see his existence in everything and everyone. If you see somebody, let's say, the man is known for his valor and the lady is known, or mother is known for her beauty. When you see a beautiful woman, you should remember Krishna. Well, that will take some change of consciousness, seriously. Can you imagine? When you see a beautiful woman, that beauty, the opulence, beauty is one of the opulence. Yes? Ashwarasya samagrasya virasya yashasha shriya. Shri is beauty. So when you see a beauty, that Shri is coming from whom? Krishna. And vice versa, when you see a valor, a bravery, that is coming from where? Krishna. Aishwarasya samagrasya veer. Viryasya, strength is whose? Krishna. So I know the man will be feeling insecure. Ladies may be feeling insecure. Arey, kuch to hamara credit rehne do bhai. But the fact is a fact. That's a fact about it. So like this, we can perceive, we can see Krishna through these opulences because all of that have originated from Krishna. It is not that Krishna is physically present in all these things, but all that opulences are nothing but manifested from his vibhutis. So like this, after naming almost close to 82 examples of his opulences, then Krishna, with all his humility, he makes a statement and he says, Arjuna, what is the use of your question? My glories are unlimited. How much should I tell you? What I have just shared with you is a minuscule parts of my unlimited glories. And then Krishna says, please repeat, Athava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam krishnam ekam shena sito jagat. Lord Krishna says, what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. One new reader of Bhagavad Gita incidentally opened the 10th chapter directly and read through some of these opulences and came to a fantastic conclusion. यार ये कृष्णा अपनी तारीफ करने में क्यों लगे हैं? And that person asked this question. And I was reflecting, well, you sound very much like Duryodhana now. Because I made a point, right? If Krishna would have to speak Bhagavad Gita to Duryodhana, Duryodhana would have become very envious. Hey, how can you take all the opulences for yourself? What about me? I'm supposed to be the hero here. So when somebody reads this section and gets a doubt, अरे यार अपनी तारीफ करने में लगा है, तो समझ जाना कहाँ से आए हो. All right, what's your background? I'm just joking. But it's just a fact. We all are here in this existence because at some point of time we develop that envy for the Lord. Therefore, what is the qualification to understand Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says, Bhakto sime sakha cheti. Arjuna, you are my friend, you are my devotee. And thus you are non-envious. So after hearing this, Arjuna didn't say, Yaar, bahut ho gaya hai. Kuch mera bhi karo. In fact, Arjuna said, my dear Lord, I want to know more about you. Isn't that the symptom of a non-envious nature? That's the point here. So then, last verse, right? Oh, that was the verse, correct. So what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge with a single fragment? Of myself, I pervade and support the whole creation. So through this chapter, Lord Shri Krishna teaches us how, although not visible to our eyes, yet a living entity can perceive the presence of Krishna in everything and every object by understanding who is the source and the cause of all this creation. Like this, the 10th chapter ends. What potentially Arjuna can say further? Because Krishna said, well, कितना अपनी तारीफ करूं? उसकी कोई limit ही नहीं है. That's what literally he's saying, right? There's no end to my glories. How much? Why you don't want to, unless you're asking me to speak about myself. And this was the first time Krishna actually spoke about himself, about his glories. What could be the wildest thing you can think of that Arjuna could have asked next? Till the time I pull out the 11th chapter presentation, think of it. What could have Arjuna said? Any guesses? चिंता मत करो, गलत जवाब को भी कुछ नहीं कहा जाएगा. आप बताओ क्या हो सकता है? So we come to the 11th chapter. This is how Krishna said. After hearing about all this thing, this is a symptom of non-envious heart. Arjuna becomes restless. And he said, Lord, Arjuna inquired, and he said, my dear Lord, what you have done right now is you have told me, I want to see it now. Can you just understand the nature of his heart? How much is, how much is non-envious? He's saying, my dear Lord, now I want to visualize, I want to visually see all those opulences that you described. Please. I mean, isn't that one who we love? We love hearing the glories about that person. And from now onwards, you will see love of Arjuna manifest for Krishna like anything. And here begins the love story of a Bhagavan and Bhakta. Here you will see the love manifesting of Arjuna. When we come to the 18th chapter, I'll show you the love of Krishna manifesting for Arjuna. It's filled with emotions. If you ever wondered what love is, do attend this chapter onwards. By the 18th chapter, you'll understand what love is, okay? So let's begin with the 11th chapter, the universal form. So in the 10th chapter, Krishna spoke about his all-pervasive nature. And in the 11th chapter, at the request of Arjuna, Krishna would show him that all-pervasive form, which is called as universal form. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture, if you just pay attention to it. Arjuna went down on his knees and he said, my dear Krishna. Can you imagine what was his problem statement and what is happening now? His problem was, I don't want to fight. He has entirely forgotten about the fight only. For him, Kurukshetra and the war doesn't exist. Please try to get into the mind of Arjuna right now. This is the second time he goes onto his knees on the chariot. First time he went onto his knees in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, crying, saying, I will not fight. I quit. He goes again on his feet in this chapter, saying, my dear Lord, please show me that all-pervasive form. And when Krishna shows that all-pervasive form, Arjuna gets terrified and he falls on his feet, begging to Krishna, my dear Lord, I wanted a romantic movie. Thank you for showing a horror movie. Please conclude this horror pastime. Come back to your two-handed form because that is so sweet, nothing can replace that. I mean, how many of you here are managers? Raise your hand in your office, in your company. How many of you are managers here? Right? Some of you are managers, quite a few of you. Team lead, you have a bunch of people to look into. So if in case you have a job where you have to conduct meetings and organize the task for everyone, how many of you often tell your team members, stay focused, don't distract, don't deviate. We came here to fight, focus on fighting, isn't it? Krishna forgot about fight, Arjuna forgot about fight. This is transcendental management. Okay. All right, let's take a look at it. This 11th chapter, it has around 55 verses. We're not going to cover the whole chapter today. I'll cover the half of it, and then we'll carry forward in the next session, the remaining chapter. All right. So the first 4 verses are for requests where Arjuna makes a request. Let's take a look what Arjuna said. Okay, so what we're going to have it, we have 1 violence or 2? We have 2. So because this is one of the longest chapter, and for me to really present that what Arjuna saw, rather than explaining, because it's beyond explanation, I have included the translations. So we can have 1 mic towards the mother's hand, and we can have 1 mic floating here. I will ask you at different times, somebody please read out. So we'll back and forth read it. Once mother will read, once the Prabhu will read, we'll do it like this. Can we pass a mic over here? And then you can raise your hand and you can circulate the mic among yourself. I will begin with it. So Arjuna makes a request. Let's take a look at it. Very interesting discussion. And he says, Bhavapayo hi bhutanam Shrutau vistarasho maya Tvataha kamala pataraksha, which means your lotus eyed. Mahatmayam apichavayam. Please read translation.
O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories.
So Arjuna continues in the same momentum. He's fixed. Krishna, you are the greatest. Krishna, you are the greatest. And he continues that speech. You see that where this consciousness is stuck right now? And is glorifying the Lord like that. All right. This is the second verse. Arjuna expresses his understanding that Krishna is a supreme personality of God. I'll not go to this charts right now, we'll move forward. That's for detailed discussion. Third verse. Evam etad yathathatvam atmanam parameshwara drashtum ichhami te rupam aishwaram purushottama. Please go ahead, read.
O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours.
Now, question arises, why would Arjuna want to see that form? Now, Arjuna is not some ordinary person who can get distracted and forget what is the goal. He is a great, great warrior, a younger brother of a king who was a king and to be king. He is a Kshatriya, he is a great administrator. So, our acharyas explain Arjuna is not actually asking for himself. Arjuna is asking for all the future generations to come who, in case of doubt if Krishna is that supreme personality of Godhead, to satisfy them for all the time to come. Arjuna is making a point that Krishna, if you're able to show your universal form, then it makes a point that you're all pervasive. In future, if any Tom, Dick and Harry comes on the stage and says, I am God, you can challenge him. My dear Lord, 5,000 years ago, in your previous incarnation, you were kind enough to Arjuna to show your universal form. Can you show me little form bigger than your current form? Forget about universal form. And if it doesn't show, jute chappal ki barish honi chahiye. So for that, to save people from such cheaters, Arjuna makes this point like this. Let's take a look ahead. Somebody else read out, please. Go ahead, somebody else, pass it on. Or those who want to read among the
If
ladies.
you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all the mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self.
I don't want to go in details. This is part of our detailed study called as Gita Life program. But because this is a very sweet section now. See the heart of Arjuna. What a humility. He expresses, my dear Lord, if you think I am able to behold your cosmic form, then kindly show. Is the same Arjuna who ordered Krishna to become his charioteer before the war. Now he's saying, प्रभु आप प्रभु हैं, मैं दास हूं. अगर आपकी इच्छा है, तो इच्छा पूरी कर दो. You see that change of consciousness now? Now it's situated firmly in that consciousness. So why Arjuna requested Krishna to show his universal form? First, to establish Krishna's divinity for all the time, to convince others, although he does not have any personal desire, just to prove. So, a couple of interesting things going to happen in this chapter. Prior to this chapter, Krishna is a supreme personality Godhead had been declared by Arjuna. But yet there are certain complexities. One complexity is Krishna is a supreme or Vishnu is supreme? Vishnu means Narayan. Is Narayan is supreme or Krishna is supreme? And then there is another complexity, or else Virat Roop is a source of everything. So there are different spiritualists worshipping according to the different traditions, surrendering themselves to Virat Roop meditation, considering Narayan to be the supreme or Krishna. This chapter clears that misconception also. How the flow happens, Krishna and Arjuna standing on the same chariot. Arjuna requests Krishna, my dear Lord, can you kindly show me a universal form? What's going to happen ahead? Krishna said, so be it, Arjuna. The form that I'm about to show you, behold, O mighty son of Kunti, that has never ever been seen in the past or nor would be seen in the future. The form that I'm about to show you. And Krishna manifested his universal form. And that was so scary, which had unlimited mouth spread across the whole horizon. Have you seen the rainbow? It goes across the whole horizon. The Krishna standing on the chariot now is all across the horizon. And he's having a very fierce, angry looking face with unlimited thousands and thousands of arms and legs spread all over. And in that gory, you want to call it, or ferocious form. And then Arjuna sees the whole Kaurava's army headed by Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Duryodhan, Shakuni, all his other brothers entering into the mouth of Virat Roop. Virat Roop with the big sharp teeth chewing them alive, eating all that army, and the blood oozing out, spreading all over. And then he sees all the men from his army entering into the mouth of Virat Roop. Arjuna, for whom bloodbath was a common thing, when he saw that, he got so terrified, he crashed on his feet, trembling, and said, Krishna, please forgive me. This is too terrible to withhold. Can you please, before he said that, prior to that he said, who are you? What is this form? It was so frightening to Arjuna. Prior to this, he was in a mood of deep love and affection. And that experience frightened him so much. Arjuna was so bewildered. Hey, who is this guy? Who is this? And then Krishna said, Kalosmi. Arjuna, I am the time personified. And then when Krishna explains about him and tells him, Arjuna, nimitta matram bhavva savesachi, become an instrument of my grace. And then Arjuna becomes sober. Then he offers his prayer to that Virat Roop. And then he makes a request. My dear Lord, please forgive me for asking me to show me this ghastly form of yours. Can I humbly request you to resume your two-handed form again? But prior to that, my dear Lord, can I also see your four-handed form? So from Virat Roop, Lord Shri Krishna takes a four-handed Narayana form. Arjuna is still not satisfied. And he said, my dear Lord, my heart longs for your two-handed form. And then Krishna said something very interesting. And Krishna said, Arjuna, the form that you're about to see now is the rarest of rare. People can have access to my four-handed Narayan form. People can meditate on my universal form. But only very few can see me as I am, as I known as Krishna. And then finally Krishna takes his very beautiful two-handed form. Now look at this whole progression. Now it's the same Krishna manifested Virat Roop. So does Virat Roop comes from Krishna or Krishna comes from Virat Roop? Virat Roop comes from Krishna. And then same Krishna manifested four-handed form. So does four-handed form Narayan comes from Krishna or Krishna comes from Narayan? Narayan comes from Krishna. And finally Krishna took his original form. So by 11th chapter, at the end of 11th chapter, all controversies, confusions have been put on full stop. There's no doubt now. The only problem is we have not read Bhagavad Gita. Therefore all the doubts are still. Our doubts are all pervasive like the universal form. कितनी भी मेहनत करो जाते नहीं है, because we have not actually read Bhagavad Gita in a proper way. All right. So these are the reasons mentioned, and yeah, Krishna like that. So now let's talk about his universal form. So upon Arjuna's request, Krishna grants his request, and Krishna says, "So be it. I will show you my universal form." Please, somebody go ahead, read out.
Krishna's description of his own universal form, what Arjuna is going to see.
So Krishna himself describes his universal form to Arjuna. I'm not going to read the verses, but we'll read the translation. Go ahead.
My dear Arjuna, a son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine and multicolored forms.
Next, we can pass on the mic to another devotee. Mothers, somebody want to read? Go ahead.
Although transcendental, it manifested for cosmic manifestation. Therefore, it is temporary.
So this is just an explanation. The universal form of the Lord is not eternal like his personal form. When the creation exists, the form exists. When creation winds up, the form winds up. Please read the next one, where Krishna speaks.
O best of Bhartas, see here the different manifestation of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, and Ashwini Kumars, and all the other
Yeah, another very
demigods.
interesting thing. Arjuna didn't saw only that. Arjuna saw all the devatas existing in that form. Rudra is Lord Shiva. Ashwini Kumara, Gandharvas, Brahma, everyone was within that universal form. Next,
O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything moving and non moving is here completely in one place.
do you see this? How complicated this painting must have been? How do you depict the universal form in a painting? Any one of you have had an experience of drawing something? If you have an experience of painting, then you can appreciate the effort would have gone behind in painting a universal form. Let me make another point. Srila Prabhupada in this context makes a very beautiful point. Prabhupada said, see, our scientists, they literally lose their hairs trying to figure it out if there is anything beyond earth or not. Arjuna, very comfortably sitting on his chariot, no work, no fasting, by the grace of Krishna, got to see everything. He said, therefore, devotees doesn't have to make any endeavor for material accomplishments. Just simply by the grace of Krishna, they get everything. And like Arjuna got it, even the best of the scientists still figuring out if there is a life outside earth. All right. Next, go ahead.
But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence.
So, this form, which is another transcendental form or material form, whatever you want to call it, Krishna said, well, for you, Arjuna, because your eyes is bedecked with love, premanjana churita bhakti filochanena, to see this material form, I'll have to still give you the vision, as you cannot otherwise see me. So what was happening at this point in time? Because by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Sanjay was also witnessing everything. So when Krishna manifested his universal form, now Sanjay has to explain to Dhritarashtra. उस नमूने को कैसे समझाएं? कितने महान उसको समझा के चले गए, कुछ समझ नहीं आता था. Now Sanjay was thinking, how do I explain the universal form? Now here Sanjay is actually witnessing the universal form. After speaking these few initial verses which Sanjay spoke to Dhritarashtra, there was a pin drop silence. And Arjuna is observing the universal form. And Dhritarashtra बोल रहा है, अरे इतनी शांति क्यों हो गई है? क्या हुआ? बेचारा अंधा तो था ही. उसको समझ नहीं आ रहा संजय टॉयलेट ब्रेक पे गया, क्या हुआ है? Why there is a pin drop silence? And he said, क्या हुआ? So now Sanjay has to tell something, na? So now Sanjay gives an analogy. Again, the word analogy means to simplify the complex subject matter in a way which you can understand. And look how Sanjay is describing what he saw. You can call it, this is something, as a third party, what we would have seen. Okay? Very beautiful. All right. Who is going to read? Next, please read out.
Arjuna saw in the universal form of unlimited...
Who is speaking? You got to be louder, mother.
Yeah, sure. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many... Sorry, I have reading glasses, so I'll pass it.
All right.
Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared over his body. He all was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding.
And then further, now he gives an analogy. Please read out.
If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal
So
form.
Sanjay is saying to Dhritarashtra, what is this form? Hey Dhritarashtra, if hundreds and thousands of sun would have to rise simultaneously, how bright the sky would be. Like that is a scene at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This is what the universal form is. All right? Please go ahead. Who is reading next? Yes, mother, go ahead.
At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansion of the universe, situated in the place, although divided into many, many thousands.
Which means, although it was divided, but it was situated in one place. It was all manifesting from Krishna. It's something like a projector to help you understand. You know, you might see different slides, different colors, but all situated in one place. It's a projector which is projecting. It was something like original PowerPoint show that happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. You know, and the original projector was Krishna himself. He was projecting his universal form on the sky. Okay. So after this, how did Arjuna responded when he saw this? And then comes, please read. Who among the man is reading?
Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisance and with folded hands began to pray.
So Arjuna was frightened. He bowed down and offered his obeisances. And then he began to pray. And then from the 15th verse up to the 45th verse, and in between there are a few verses where Krishna speaks. Most of these verses are the prayers of Arjuna. And what are the prayers? Very beautiful prayers. Let's take a look at it. Somebody please read out.
My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and the various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sage and the divine serpents.
He was able to see all the devtas within that universal form. All right. So, what he saw at this point of time was the whole universe. And I'm going to just take an opportunity here to explain you how the universe looks like. In one of our previous presentation, I took you on a journey from material world to the spiritual world. And I had told in that session, today I'm not spending time on describing how this material world looks like. I'm going to zoom into it in the future sessions. So here Arjuna saw the whole universe within that universal form. Let's try to see what this universe looks like. How is it? All right. Vedic universal map. How does it all begins with? Shri Krishna, the cause of all causes, ete chamsa kalha pumsa. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He expands into Balaram. Balaramji expands in the first Chaturvyuha expansion. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh. That Sankarshan expands further as Narayana. That Narayana expands further as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anirudh. And that Sankarshan expands himself as Mahashiv. I'll explain you this whole table. And that Sankarshan expands as Mahavishnu, Mahavishnu to Garbhodaksha, Shirodaksha, Vishnu. Now, what is all these expansions are? I have made this point before also. It's a very simple thing to understand. Every expansion of the Lord has a very particular purpose to fulfill. And when I have explained this concept in the past, I have used a simple example of Narasimha Dev. Well, if it was to kill Hiranyakashipu, then Varadev could have appeared from the pillar. Vamanadev could appear from the pillar. But who appeared? Narasimhadev. But when it was to defeat Bali by begging alms, then imagine if Narasimhadev would have appeared. So would Bali would have given anything in alms to Narasimhadev? Then how did Lord appear? As a dwarf Vamana avatar, as a small boy. Imagine if the Vamana avatar would have come out from the pillar of Hiranyakashipu. He might have developed compassion for Vamana avatar. Arey, mere bete jaisa dikhta hai tu. Right? 5-year-old Vaman avatar, 5-year-old Prahlad Maharaj. Imagine if he would have developed attraction for Vaman. Hiranyakashipu ka vada nahi hota. So how did Lord appear? As a ferocious half-man, half-lion. And why did he appear as a half-man, half-lion? Because Brahmaji had given a particular kind of a blessing in that form. So every incarnation of the Lord has a particular purpose to fulfill. And that is how the expansion happens. It would be a very extensive discussion for me to go into details of all of it, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. What is the idea of expansion of Balaram from Krishna? Balaramji is the one who expands in the shoes, in the mridanga, in the bed, as Anant Shesh, in the flute. Anything and everything by which Krishna can be served is an expansion of Balaram. Same Krishna manifests his feminine energy as Srimati Radharani, which is Radha, Aradhana, which means one who is meant to serve Krishna. So these are different expansions which are manifesting from Krishna for different purposes. And in that, we come here to Sankarshan, and Sankarshan expanding is Mahadev. That Mahadev, I've had a whole series of discussion about Lord Shiva and his glories. To summarize, that Mahadev comes into this material world as not Shivji, as Rudra, who is born in this creation from Brahma is Rudra. It is that Rudra you call as Nataraj, you call as Shiv, you call as Shambhu, you call him Ashutosh and whatnot. Why Sankarshan has to expand as Mahadev? Because you know of the concept of Trinity. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Brahma does the secondary creation, Vishnu does the maintenance, and who destroys? Shiva. So for the purpose of destruction, Sankarshan expands himself as Mahadev. For the purpose of primary creation, Sankarshan expands at Mahavishnu. What is that? Let me explain you in the next slide. So Krishna expands as Mahavishnu, who lies down in the causal ocean, according to Srimad Bhagavatam and according to Brahma Samhita spoken by Brahmaji. This form of the Lord, known as Mahavishnu, he is lying in the causal ocean and in Yoga Nidra. And when he breathes out, when you are in the water, when you breathe out, bubbles comes. When he breathes out, from that leads to the primary creation. How do you understand primary and secondary creation? Very simple. I would use analogy to explain this complex subject to your reference point. We have this, what do you call this guy? Blue Ridge, right? Pranjape. The Pranjape had been the owner of the whole land. He had the land and he wanted things to be constructed. Did Pranjape himself construct it, or he hired a construction company to construct it? He must have hired a construction company. And to that construction company, Pranjape would have provided all the raw materials and resources, which means all the paperwork is responsibility of Pranjape. All the funds is a responsibility of the builder. And who executes that is the construction house. Similarly, Krishna in the form of Mahavishnu provides all the essential materials by which the creation can occur. But who does that creation, mixing of material and building it up? A construction company. And that construction engineer is known as Brahma. Brahma is the name of the position, is not the person. So for that purpose, look how it happens. Mahavishnu, and that Mahavishnu then enters into each of these universes as Garbha Daksha Vishnu, and that same Vishnu expands as Brahma. Right? For what purpose? For secondary creation. From the Garbha of whom comes Brahma, and now Brahma does the creation. Creation have happened, the objects have been put into the place, the buildings have come up, but people have to come. The spirit is incompatible with matter. Spirit, soul, and matter has no compatibility. It's antithesis. They are opposite to each other. So how does Atma comes in contact with matter? To bring Atma and matter together, then this Garbhodaksha Vishnu expands himself as Shirodaksha Vishnu, who, sitting in the heart of a living entity, makes a connection between Atma and matter, because of which we are able to perceive and act into this creation. The moment Paramatma leaves, your existence ceases to exist. How many of you here were part of the mind management series? In that, I had explained this concept. Let me give you a simple example again. The law of the nation says Body is yours. You are the owner of the body. You decide what you want to do it. And if a surgeon or a doctor is doing a surgery on your body, he tears open your belly, and while fixing a kidney, if he finds a problem in another part of body, he cannot operate. He will stitch you back, bring you out of anesthesia, and give you agreement and say that you have another problem right next to kidney, which was only 0.2 mm away. But to operate, I need your permission. Please sign so I can tear open your belly again and operate it. Sounds ridiculous. But the law of the nation restricts him from doing anything without the permission of the owner. So we have been infested with this idea, I am the owner. I have a simple exercise. I can prove you this complex subject here. Let's pay attention to it. If you are the owner of the body, then whatever you decide the body should do, right? Let's do a quick exercise. Everyone, please raise your hands high up. Now, how many of you agree because you decided to raise your hands high up? That's the reason you're able to raise your hands? Correct? This is called as illusion. Put your hand down. Let me prove you wrong. If you think because you desire and that's the reason you were able to raise your hand, which means your desire is the one which had the capacity to make this mechanical movement, think about the person who has got paralysis. One whose left hand is paralytic. How much ever he may desire to raise his hand, can he raise? Who controls the body? Who controls the body? Are you the owner of the body? Yes, move it. You cannot move it. You might give whatever medical term to it. And if you have so much faith on these doctors, we have a doctor here, so no disrespect to any doctor. I don't mean that. Anyway, she's a homeopathic doctor, good doctor. I'm not averse to allopathy, but they really make a fool out of us. Now, if you go to any doctor, any hospital, frankly speaking, they know nothing. They only depend on the data which the machine produces. No disrespect to any doctor. If in case your husband or spouse is a doctor, I mean nothing. I'm giving a disclaimer. But any one of you ever have been hospitalized, no doctor can tell you anything. What they will say? We are discovering aapki problem kya hai. And all that research is based on the data which is produced by the machine. And then their years of degree, the years that they spend in a medical college, is just to draw an assumption from that report. तुम्हें malaria है या lavaria है. That is what they do. Any one of you have ever been to hospital and hospitalized? Have you seen this comedy show happening? They will tell, let more tests happen, then we'll tell you what is happening. Anyways, they're doing their job. Nothing wrong with that. The point I'm trying to bring in here is, am I really the controller? No. So matter and spirit have no compatibility. The compatibility exists only because Paramatma makes it possible. And how Paramatma can make it possible? Because Krishna himself says in 7th chapter, verse number 4 and 5, the spirit and matter both are my energy. If something belongs to you, you can do whatever you want to do with it, isn't it? So that's how Shirodaksha Vishnu is required to make this incompatible relationship compatible. Garbhodaksha Vishnu is required for the purpose of creation of this world. Mahavishnu is required for the purpose of origin of the universe. And Sankarshan expands like into these forms. Is that making sense? That's how there are different forms the Lord takes. I'll give you some evidences from Shastra and we'll move forward and conclude. Somebody please read out.
The whole cosmic order in...
Loudly please.
Yeah, sir. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end.
See, either a person is crazy, वह आगरा हॉस्पिटल का भागा हुआ पागल है, या तो सही में कह रहा है. Can anyone make a statement like this? Just because of my will, the world is created and world is destroyed. I mean, तुम छोटी बोटी फेंको तो समझ भी आता है. I mean, थोड़ा तो समझो यार, कुछ तो लेवल होता है फेंकने का. Krishna standing on the chariot right in the middle of the war, and do you think Arjuna is such a fool? तो अर्जुन कृष्ण कुछ भी फेंकेगा उसको he will purchase it. And Krishna is saying, the whole creation is under me. And by my will, it is manifested again and again, and according to my will, it is annihilated. It cannot be a joke. In such a serious situation, speaking to such an important candidate by the name of Arjuna, he was not a teenager, he was 79 years old at the time of the battle. Such a mature person. Would he buy such kind of statement unless they are serious and true? And then Krishna says further. Please, next. Who is reading next? Yes, go ahead, go ahead. Acha, so there's nothing to see. Hey, what happened to the verse? Gauranga. According to Krishna's will, it disappeared. What can I do? I had put it, it became disappeared. No problem, you can read the next one. So this is our 14 planetary system consisting of the upper, middle, and lower three worlds. Like this, from Garbha, there's Brahmaji, and all this are the 14 planetary systems. And these are the names of Satyalok, Tapalok, Janalok, Mahalok, Swarlok, Bhuva, and Bhuloka. Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha, Gayatri Mantra. And then Atala, Sutala, Mahatal, Talatal, Rasatal, and Patal. For 7 lower planetary system. Like this. Shirodaksha Vishnu, he explains the super soul. I've explained this concept. Bhagavad Gita 15.13. Gama Vishyacha Bhutani Dharyami Hamojasa. Krishna says later in 15th chapter, why these cosmic entities are floating in their own positions? It is my energy which is keeping them intact in their own positions. Like that. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. How can anyone speak like this? It has to be damn factual. Somebody to speak so, such kind of bombastic thing, which means only the Supreme Lord can do it. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. And with this, I'll conclude here. If in case you all remember Mahabharata, there used to be in those 90s Mahabharata, in the beginning used to come Kal Chakra. Time I am. It was a little strong, frightening sounds. And this is what it is. Under the purview of time, creation happens and destruction happens. What does it mean when Krishna says, time I am? It is time which destroys everything. With time, everything gets destroyed. Time is the devastating force of the Supreme Lord. How it functions and its qualities, we'll make that as a future session. We'll continue this discussion in the next session on next Saturday. With that, I'll pause here. We have completed up to 11th chapter, I believe, somewhere close to verse number 32. This is Kalosmi, is around 31 or 32nd verse. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any comment or any question to clarify? I feel I got a little technical today. I don't know how many of you can understand that. Yes, please pass on the mic. The gentleman here would have the mic. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to ask, why I understand that God wants to annihilate the Earth or solar system, but the question is, why would he want to destroy his own creation?
A very thoughtful question. Why create only if you meant to destroy it? Don't create only. But that's not exactly your question, but your question is more close to, if creation has happened, let it function, let it flourish. Why destroy? The answer is given by Krishna in the 8th chapter. When he's describing about this creation, what does he call this creation as? Dukh alayam ashashvatam is a place of misery and it is temporary. What does it imply? Whoever it is, for whatever time it is, a person can never be happy into this world. First thing. The purpose of this creation is not to find an eternal life here, because this is just a perverted reflection of our original home in the spiritual world. This creation has been done by the Lord to fulfill the desires of the rebellious souls who rebelled against the laws of the spiritual world, who wanted to become the Lord themselves and Lord over the Lord's energies and to exploit them. And to fulfill the desires of these rebellious souls, Lord gave them the facility. Try how much ever you want to try. Regardless of your efforts, that just can never happen. Therefore, there's a stipulated time for its creation and for its destruction. And what is the time frame of creation and destruction? It goes to 311 trillion and 40 billion years, the duration of the cosmic entity. Now you keep trying for how many times you want to try. And eventually, if you come to your senses, it ain't gonna happen. Then come back to me. So this place is designed not for you to, continue with your rebellious nature. This place is designed to reform your rebellious nature. Now you may say, why Lord has to do like this? Let me be rebellious. Simple answer, when a child becomes stubborn and he does not want to obey his parents, let's say it's raining outside and the child says, I want to go and play football. Mother or father may say, Beta, it's not a good weather. Don't go it. When it stops raining, go that time. But the child persists and insists, what father may say? All right, go ahead. And what happens? The child goes, falls sick, and come back to the same parents. And the parents only treats and take care of the child. Like this, being away from the parents, we can never be happy. So this is a place for reformation, not for enjoyment. That's the reason there is a creation and therefore there is also a destruction. Hare Krishna. Anything else? So with this, we'll pause here. I'll just take a minute. I wanted to make an announcement. How would the sound come from here? I want the sound go from here. So today, to help all of you sincere practitioners and participants who have been coming so religiously for such a long time, we are launching a new initiative called as Bhakti Life Program. I'll just give you a quick introduction of it. It's not a good quality. Just during the day of my schedule, I somehow quickly recorded a video, but let's watch it. It will give you some overview. The idea of this program, first of all, is to bring personal guidance, create an opportunity for you to have some spiritual guidance on a regular manner first, as well as along with professional and whatever personal needs you may have. Secondly, just like we go through our education, we have a curriculum. If you're in 8th standard, you study the 8th curriculum, not the 10th standard. Unfortunately today, because things are openly available on social media, we hear or read anything and everything, because of which we become a confused entity. We don't know what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, we have created this model based on your level of spiritual practice. Your spiritual practice is recognized and is awarded with certain practices which you can do at your level of consciousness, which is supported by a mentor, which is provided for each of the candidates, along with what should you be reading, what you should be hearing, and what practice you should be engaging yourself in spectrum of spiritual culture. For that, we have created 5 levels of gradations. And that's the whole program about it. It's an open invitation for everyone. There is no registration fees and all that, because this is not happening in a hotel. This is all online effort. We have created the system on online platform, and our volunteers, our team have agreed kindly to be there for all of you, to guide you and to help you if in case you have any inquiry. So let's take a look. What is it all about?